Katie Logan stood in Forrester Creations' sleek, modern office, arms crossed tightly across her chest, brows furrowed as she stared at Luna Nozawa. The air between them crackled with tension, like a storm forming beneath the surface of their perfectly crafted facades. The luxury suite's shiny glass walls and sumptuous leather furniture felt like a cage, containing the visceral emotions churning in the space. Katie's heart pounded in her chest, and her pulse was like a deafening drumming in her ears. The news she had just received, Luna's pregnancy and worse, the revelation that Will Spencer, her son, was the father, had hit her like a freight train. Her thoughts raced, recreating every moment, conversation, and subtle glance she'd missed that could have foreshadowed this shocking news. Luna stood near the desk, her stance straight and her exquisite hands clasped in front of her. Her black eyes, which were normally calm and poised, sparked with rebellion and vulnerability. Katie wore a fitted navy dress that hugged her tiny form, but her gaze was drawn to the little curve in her abdomen, which had previously gone unnoticed but was now impossible to ignore. The weight of the revelation was heavy, a truth that no woman could avoid. Katie's lips squeezed into a narrow line, her breath short as she strained to comprehend what Luna had just said. "You're pregnant," Katie whispered, her voice low and sharp enough to pierce. "And it's Will's." Luna nodded, her head raising slightly, but her eyes showed a hint of worry. "Yes, Katie. I did not intend for this to happen." Katie laughed bitterly, devoid of humor. "Did it just happen? Is that what you are going with?" She took a step forward, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. "You're standing there carrying my son's child, and you want me to think this was an accident? That you weren't sure what you were doing?" Luna's jaw stiffened, but she stood her ground. "I care for Will, Katie. This was not a scheme. We didn't intend to injure anyone." "Injure anyone?" Katie's voice increased, her control slipping around the edges. "You are 20 years old, Luna. Will is just out of high school. You've dragged my son, my baby, into this mess." Her hands clenched into fists at her sides, her claws cutting into her palms. The notion of Will, her sensitive, ambitious son, being permanently linked to Luna sparked a flood of protective rage within her. Luna's eyes glistened, but she refused to back down. "I understand he's young, Katie. I realize this is complicated. But Will isn't a youngster anymore. He made his own decisions." The word struck Katie like a slap, kindling a fury she couldn't control. She closed the distance between them in 2 rapid strides, raising her hand before she could stop herself. The crisp sound of her palm touching Luna's cheek rang throughout the room, providing a striking contrast to the maelstrom of emotions. Luna gasped, taking a step back and bringing her palm to her face. Her eyes widened, astonishment and pain blazing across her face. "Don't you dare tell me about my son's choices," Katie shouted, her voice shaking with wrath. "You don't realize what this means for him, for his future." Luna's hand remained on her cheek, her fingers shaking slightly. For a minute, neither woman spoke, their silence heavy with the weight of what had just occurred. Katie's chest heaved, her breath strained, and she glanced at Luna, terrified by her own deeds. She was not a violent person. Rather, she took pride in her control and ability to traverse the complex web of Forrester family turmoil with grace. But this was different. This was her son. Luna straightened, her hand falling to her side. Her voice remained steady but weaker now. "I didn't want this to happen, Katie. I am not your adversary. So why does it feel like you are?" Katie snapped back, her voice cracking. She turned away, running a hand through her blonde hair, attempting to calm the storm inside her. The office, with its clinical grandeur, was oppressive. She wanted to shout, cry, and shake Luna until she realized the enormity of what she had done. But deep down, Katie knew it wasn't just Luna. Will had played a role in this, and the realization hit harder than anything else. She returned her gaze to Luna, scrutinizing the younger woman's features. "How long did you know?" she inquired, her tone lower but no less urgent. Luna hesitated, her gaze falling to the ground. "A few weeks," she confessed. "I was afraid to tell anyone. I had no idea how to tell Will, let alone you." Katie's heart twisted. Several weeks. Weeks of secrecy, with Luna bearing this information while Katie went about her business unaware. She recalled Will's easy smile and calm desire to forge his own path in a family full of larger-than-life figures. He was supposed to be focusing on education and his future, not navigating fatherhood before he ever had a chance to live. Did you tell him? Katie inquired, her tone just above a whisper. Luna nodded. Last night. He was astonished, but he wanted to be there. For me. Katie closed her eyes, feeling nauseous. She could imagine Will's expression, the way his brow furrowed when he was attempting to digest something overwhelming. He was so young and unprepared for this level of responsibility. Nonetheless, Luna's remarks resonated with a quiet conviction that Katie couldn't deny. Will had made his decision, just as Luna had stated. But that didn't mean Katie had to take it without a struggle. She opened her eyes, giving Luna a harsh gaze. What do you want, Luna? What's your overall goal here? Because I understand how the world works. I've seen it all, ambition, manipulation, and individuals exploiting babies to guarantee their place in this family. So what's your angle? Luna's eyes blazed with rage. Do you suppose I got pregnant to trap Will? To gain a share of the Spencer riches or a stake in Forrester Creations? That is not who I am, Katie. I did not grow up plotting like that. I care about Will and this baby. That's all. Katie wanted to trust her. Luna's candor was endearing, and her vulnerability almost compelling. But Katie had been burnt far too often in the harsh world of Los Angeles' elite. She'd seen love twisted into leverage, and trust weaponized for profit. And Luna, with her quiet strength and stunning beauty, was the type of woman who could turn heads and change the power equations in this family. You say that now, Katie said, her voice icy. But I've been playing this game much longer than you have. People change when power and money are involved. And a baby? That is the ultimate chess piece. Luna shook her head, her gaze darkening. I am not playing a game, Katie. I'm neither one of your rivals at Forrester, nor am I a gold digger looking for a payday. I'm just a woman who made a mistake and is attempting to do the right thing. The words echoed in Katie's head, teasing her. What was the correct thing to do in this situation? She considered Will's father, Bill Spencer, and how he would react if he found out. Bill, with his larger-than-life presence and unwavering expectations, would most likely barge in, demanding control and flinging money or threats at the problem until it yielded to his will. Brooke, Katie's sister, would undoubtedly have her own ideas, tying this drama into the never-ending tapestry of Forrester-Logan Spencer feuds. Katie's head ached just thinking about their replies. She took a deep breath and forced herself to focus. What does Will want? She inquired, her voice lower, almost imploring. Has he told you what he intends to do about this? Luna's demeanor softened, and a glimmer of hope appeared in her eyes. He wants to get involved. He admitted to being terrified, but he wants to step forward. Katie's heart fell when she heard. He's trying to figure out what that means. Of course, Will would like to move up. He was his father's son, loyal, headstrong, and determined to accomplish what he believed was right, even if it cost him everything. She could see the route ahead, Will forsaking his goals and youth to take on a role he was not prepared for. And Luna, whether she meant to or not, would be the anchor that bound him to this life. I need to talk to him, Katie continued, speaking to herself rather than Luna. She turned toward the door, her thoughts already racing to the chat she would have with her son. She needed to hear it from him, to understand what he was thinking and feeling. She needed to protect him, even if it meant defending him against himself. Katie, Luna cried out to her, her voice frantic. Please do not shut me out. I understand your anger, but this baby is not solely mine. It is also Will's. And that makes it yours in a sense. Katie hesitated, her hand on the door handle. The words hit her like a punch in the stomach. Her grandchild. The concept hadn't fully registered until now, and it sent her reeling. She didn't turn around, unable to meet Luna's pleading gaze. Instead, she pushed the door open and marched out, her heels ringing through the empty hall. When Katie arrived later that evening, the Forrester mansion was peaceful, with the huge estate bathed in dusk. She discovered Will in the living room, stretched on the couch with his phone in hand. He appeared young and carefree, swiping through whatever app caught his interest. But as he looked up and spotted her, his attitude changed, guarded and suspicious, as if he knew what was coming. Mom, he responded, sitting upright. You're home early. Katie carefully laid her purse down. We need to talk, Will. He groaned and ran his hand through his dark hair, a move so similar to his father's that Katie's chest ached. Luna informed you, didn't she? Katie nodded, sitting across from him with her hands securely gripped in her lap. Yes, she did. Will's eyes met hers, and for a minute she saw the youngster he used to be, the one who'd ran to her with bruised knees and horrible dreams, rather than the young man facing an uncertain future. I'm sorry, Mom, he stated quietly. Katie's throat clenched. I didn't mean for this to happen. I understand you didn't, but it is occurring, Will, and we have to figure out what happens next. He turned aside, his jaw twitching as he pondered her words. I will not abandon Luna. Or the baby. I know I'm young, but I can manage it. Katie wanted to believe him, to trust that he could get through this without losing himself. But the weight of her own past, the decisions she'd made, the fights she'd fought weighed heavily on her. She reached out and placed her hand on his arm. You don't have to do this alone, she added softly. I am here. Your father is here. We'll sort it out together. Will nodded, but his eyes were distant, already burdened by a future he didn't completely understand. Katie felt guilty for what she'd done to Luna, for allowing her fury to take over. More than that, she was driven by a strong desire to protect her son at all costs. The news of Luna's pregnancy echoed through the Forrester and Spencer households for several weeks. Bill was inevitably enraged, screaming into Katie's office with a list of demands and accusations, but Katie was able to calm him down long enough to focus on Will's needs. Brooke, ever the mediator, attempted to bridge the divide between Katie and Luna, persuading her sister to see Luna as a young woman in a tough circumstance, rather than a threat. Steffi Forrester, never one to shy away from drama, had her own thoughts, cautioning Luna to walk carefully in a turbulent family like theirs. Luna, for her part, kept her distance from Katie, even if their paths eventually met at Forrester Creations. The tension between them persisted, a quiet undercurrent behind their professional contacts. Katie observed Luna attentively, looking for any indication of hidden motives, but all she saw was a young woman attempting to navigate an untenable position with as much grace as she could muster. Katie was alone in the design studio one afternoon, doodling on a notebook without thinking. The door opened and Luna walked inside, hesitant to see Katie. For a moment neither spoke, the memory of their quarrel lingering between them. I'm sorry, Katie finally murmured, her voice soft, for slapping you. Luna's eyes widened in astonishment as she apologized for being out of line. She nodded slowly. I understand, Katie. You are safeguarding Will. I'd probably do the same if it were my child. Katie examined her, looking for any sign of insincerity, but found none. This isn't easy for me, she said. I want the best for Will. And I am not sure whether that includes you. Luna's lips twisted into a faint, sorrowful grin. I understand, but I am not going anywhere. This baby is on the way, and I intend to be the best mother possible. I hope you will give me the opportunity to show it. Katie did not answer, but something in Luna's words struck a chord. She reflected on her own challenges as a young mother, the judgment she had received, and the mistakes she had made. Perhaps Luna wasn't the antagonist she'd made out to be. Perhaps they may find a way to go through this together. As Luna exited the room, Katie's gaze was drawn to the sketch on her notepad. A soft, flowing outfit reminiscent of a young mother. She set down her pencil, her thoughts whirling with ideas. The path ahead would be difficult, but for the first time, Katie felt hopeful that they could face them together. The months that followed were a blur of emotions, decisions, and strained alliances. Will surprise Katie by taking on a part-time job at Forrester Creations to help save for the baby's future. Luna, too, shown that she was capable of more than Katie had previously thought. She put herself into preparing for motherhood, attending prenatal classes and even nervously approaching Katie for guidance. Katie, for her part, struggled to overcome her protective instincts. She lingered around Will, questioning his decisions and doubting his dedication to Luna. But as the due date approached, she noticed her son's determination and calm resolve, which reminded her so much of herself. And in Luna, she saw a young lady determined to rise above the chaos of their society and create a future for her kid. Katie stood outside the hospital room on the day of the baby's birth, her heart racing. Will appeared, looking pale but grinning, and took her hand. It's a girl, Mom. he announced, his voice filled with emotion. And she's perfect. Katie followed him inside, where Luna was clutching a small infant wrapped in a soft pink blanket. For the first time, Katie saw a mother rather than a rival or a threat. She went closer, her gaze locked on Luna's, and something changed. The wrath, anxiety, and resentment did not dissipate, but they softened, creating way for something new. Congratulations, Katie responded in a firm voice. Luna smiled, tears in her eyes. She's beautiful. Thank you, Katie. As Katie stared down at her granddaughter, she felt a powerful wave of love that took her breath away. The path ahead would be lengthy, with many hurdles and uncertainties. But for the time being, they were a family, imperfect and difficult, but united by something greater than any of them had anticipated.